Think about what actually happens when you tap a Buy Now button on your phone. It feels simple, but that 1-second interaction triggers a massive industrial process that runs entirely out of sight. This diagram shows the invisible side of that process. Everything on the left, the buttons and text you interact with, is the front end, but the real machinery lives on the right. That is the back end, the server and database logic that actually handles your request. This chart shows how your device talks to that remote server. They use a shared language called HTTP. Your phone sends a request to ask for a resource, and the server sends back a response containing the information you need. The internet functions as a structured, high-speed conversation between the phone in your hand and a remote computer. This guide outlines REST, a set of rules keeping these conversations predictable. Instead of using messy commands, engineers use logical, standardized web addresses to name every item. This bottom list shows common traps to avoid to keep the system clean. This chart compares ways to box up data for delivery. Most apps use JSON because it's easy to read, but for slow connections, a denser format like protobuf shrinks the package size by more than half. The servers processing these requests are built using specific programming languages. This map divides them based on their strengths. A startup might choose a language that allows for fast changes, while a bank will choose one designed for long-term stability and security. This traces a request's full path. From phone to server, it passes 10 specific checkpoints, like identity checks and security gates. The request must clear almost this entire process before finally reaching the database at step 9 to access actual records. Every language, data format, and rule in this chain exists to get the right information into the right package and send it back to your screen in milliseconds. Think of the database as the city's central vault. This graphic shows a relational database, which stores information in strict, organized tables. We use a language called SQL to link different tables together, ensuring that a customer's name is always perfectly connected to their order history. This quadrant outlines NoSQL databases, which are built for speed and flexibility. They trade those strict table structures for the ability to handle massive amounts of unstructured data, like social media feeds or sensor readings. Before anyone can touch that data, we have to check their ID at the front door. This is authentication. This chart shows the different ways a server verifies who you are, whether through a temporary session or a secure digital token. Just because the server knows your name doesn't mean you can see everything. This matrix shows authorization, defining what you are actually allowed to do. A viewer might only see a record, while an admin can edit or delete it. Data is the system's most valuable asset. A backend engineer's job is to keep that vault locked against intruders while ensuring it opens instantly for authorized users. To keep things moving, requests pass through an automated assembly line called a middleware pipeline. This diagram shows how the system automatically checks every incoming request for identity and safety before it ever reaches the core logic of the app. Some tasks, like generating a long invoice, are too slow and would freeze the app. The server pushes these heavy tasks to a queue and processes them in the background, allowing the app to send you a success message immediately. We also gain speed by using caching. This comparison shows how we store frequently accessed data in a fast memory layer. Instead of a slow 300-millisecond trip to the main database, the server can retrieve the information in just 3 milliseconds. Engineers increase performance by designing the system to avoid heavy, repetitive work whenever possible. When an app becomes popular, it eventually hits a limit. This diagram compares 2 ways to grow. You can upgrade to a single, more powerful machine, or you can scale horizontally, adding multiple identical machines behind a load balancer to share the work. The database also has to grow to handle more traffic. This chart illustrates sharding. By splitting a massive table into smaller pieces and distributing them across different servers, we can keep the data accessible even as the user base grows. This side-by-side comparison shows how a single large application can be broken down into microservices. These are small, independent pieces that handle one specific job, like payments or shipping, allowing teams to update them without affecting the rest of the system. To keep those pieces coordinated, we use message brokers. This diagram shows how one service can broadcast an event, like order placed. Every other service that needs to know about that order simply listens for those messages and reacts automatically. Serving millions of people at once requires breaking a large application into specialized parts that work together in real time. This graphic shows an API gateway acting as a border control. If a malicious script tries to hammer the server with thousands of requests a second, the gateway enforces a rate limit, blocking the traffic before it can crash the backend. Finding a problem in a complex network is difficult. This dashboard shows a distributed trace. It follows a single request through the entire system, using this waterfall chart to pinpoint the exact service that is causing a delay. We also install safety valves called circuit breakers. This flowchart shows how the system automatically cuts off a failing service. This prevents a small glitch in one part of the app from triggering a chain reaction that takes down the entire system. Building distributed systems means accepting the hard physical limits of the CAP theorem. This triangle shows that you often have to choose between keeping the app constantly available or guaranteeing that every user sees the exact same data at the same time. When an action spans multiple services, we need a way to undo it if something goes wrong. This diagram shows how the saga pattern works. If a payment fails after a flight is reserved, the system automatically runs a rollback to release the seat. This spectrum shows how software companies keep their clients' data separate. By providing high isolation between users on the same hardware, engineers ensure that even the largest enterprise clients can keep their private information completely secure. At this level, backend engineering is focused on anticipating, isolating, and surviving failure to keep the system running. This 6-step pipeline shows how engineers safely ship new code. Every update is automatically tested and packaged before being deployed, allowing the system to evolve without causing downtime for users. Even with these protections, things will break. This graphic shows common failure patterns. When they occur, engineers write postmortems, blameless reports that explain what happened so the team can prevent it from ever happening again. You have just traced the entire journey of backend engineering, from the foundations of the internet to the complex architecture used by the world's largest apps. Now you are ready to apply these concepts and build your own systems from the ground up. The apps we use every day rely on this invisible metropolis, and you now have the map to understand how it all works.